Man, I feel like this is just like a Christmas, Hanukkah, birthday gift wrapped up into one. Let me tell you, I'm so crazy excited about today's guest. You know, I think it's because I'm a little bit biased. It's very rare that I get the opportunity to introduce someone who's just dope all in themselves, but more importantly, who shares my name. I'm honored to have this guest, but this is one of those moments where I'm going to say, don't be a fool. Get paper, get pen, take notes. I'll be taking notes and not only going to learn how to do the damn thing, but we're going to learn very quickly how to get stronger in this game. Tiffany!
Hey, Tiffany.
Listen, you know, it's like, I tell you, I have been excited about this for a long time, you know, partially because I'm biased because we share the same name. And I just think you're amazing just because of that by itself, right? But because just like the rest of the world, I have the luxury of having a seat to watching you do the damn thing, not just like often, but on really and truly a daily basis. Whether it's you being on TV or you being featured on number one morning show, or if it's not a book, or if it's being on the same stage with Michelle Obama. I mean, at the end of the day, I know one thing's for sure, success leaves clues.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, you know, today, which is a different day, not just for people, humans, Americans, I'm going to biasly say women and Black women, but it's like, it's a new day. And as I think about what you've created and who you are to the world, I literally just, I want to dive into your story, but I want to dive into your story as you see yourself today as a new woman, because I woke up today differently after I watched the excitement from this weekend, but I felt different. My responsibility, my dreams, my story, all just felt like they came alive. Did you have the same kind of feeling for you?
Yeah, I did. I just feel like, I don't know, there's just so much shift in general happening, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is a little bit scary because, you know, there's always like the fear of the unknown, but then also too, there's growth happening overall. So I just say like in just overall, there's just an air of shift in the air, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So as we talk about shift and I'm going to use it as a quick segue. So you are a teacher. You're a teacher. You're making a teacher's salary. And tell me the moment where you say, I got to make a shift. I got to make a shift.
Well, my biggest, I would say one of my biggest shifts was definitely 2009 when I lost my job. That wasn't a shift that I chose, but as a result, I had to make a shift to what am I going to do next? And I think people think that shifts are always really sharp, but that's not necessarily true. You know, that it took me from 2009 to 2000, like maybe 11, 12 before I kind of settled into the fact that I was going to be doing the Budgetnista. Mm-hmm. So that was like, you know, that shift was a slow shift. So that was a huge shift. Another shift that I made was even becoming a teacher in the first place. I was like 21, just graduating school, and I'd gone to school for business, and I knew I did not want to work in corporate America, but I was afraid to tell my parents I did not want to get a regular job. I really wanted to teach, but that was a huge shift to make a decision to teach versus to entering into the corporate environment. So that was tremendous. But I've made shifts in business to write books. I recently made a shift and wrote my first children's book. And so that was a huge shift of departure. I shifted when I started my online school, the Literature Academy, and I shifted when I started my podcast. So these shifts are more in alignment with where I was going, the direction where I was going. But sometimes shifts is also letting people go. You know, I've let people go who are no longer in alignment. That there have been huge shifts as it relates to that, because I said, you know, everybody can't come. Sometimes, you know, relationships change, and it's just the shift is more soft. And sometimes you have to intentionally release someone from your life because what they're bringing to it actually takes away more than what they add.
You know what? I really actually appreciate the fact that you highlighted one really key thing. You made a shift. And you lose your job in 2009. We get this life card. And then you said, I needed time to settle into the fact that I was going to be, or I was going to do the Budgetnista. And here you are, 2011, 2012. And you know, what's crazy is that sometimes the market or the media or just people in general, they see a person and they think, man, that person kind of woke up, had this bright idea. And then like by Wednesday of the next week, they had the whole thing figured out, built, put together, and they were rocking and rolling. But the reality of it is that sometimes shifts take time, and sometimes some of the most important shifts take time. And we don't even get to see the fact that there is a space of, can I really do it? Do I have what I need to do? I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, that shift took a couple of years where, one, I had to own the fact that I was going to move forward, but two, there were steps to figuring it out. But what's cool is that you did the damn thing. At the end, in our words, at the end of the day, you did the damn thing. Let me ask you this. Did you wake up one day, 2011, 2012, and say, you know what, I'm absolutely going to just do this? Or were you dabbling in it a little bit and you started to see a need in the market for you?
I was dabbling in it because in the beginning, I was just trying to fix my financial life. And I had, prior to this, as a teacher, I'd helped other people with their finances, but I hadn't thought about it as like, source of income or business or whatever. It was just me helping my friends. And then when the 2008, 2009, 10 recession hit, I was really just trying to keep my head above water. And then people took notice, the same people who I used to help before, and asked if I could continue to help them, because although I was struggling, it seemed like I was struggling less than they were.
Yeah.
As I was kind of like fixing myself and helping to fix others, I was trying out other things. I remember I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll be an event planner and maybe I'll be a tutor. There's all these things that was like floating around. So it didn't really hit probably about 2012. I kind of was speaking a lot. I was doing the Budgetnista a lot, but I was making nothing. Like I was doing a lot of volunteer work. So it didn't really hit that this could be it, because I was like, it's not making anything. So I don't know how this could be, how this can be it.
You were a non-for-profit at that point.
Basically, I get it. So no, I didn't just wake up one day. And even today, every day I still have to choose this path, every day I still have to choose the direction.
I have to choose this path. I literally needed to write that down every single day, because that's the God's honest truth.
It's hard because it's always something.
Mm-hmm. Every day we have to choose a path. So for the person who's taking notes, I want you to just think to yourself for a moment. She's doing something that's close in proximity to her and then makes a decision. And what's real is that it was something you were doing naturally. It was something that was of interest to you, and you had applied it to your own life to solve your own problems. Then you got to see it applied to the problems of people around you. And at what point did you say, man, I should start charging for this thing? And how did you do that? How did you decide to do that?
So someone actually told me I should. Like, I was helping someone, and it was like a friend of a friend. And someone literally said, you should charge for this. And I said, will people pay for this? And so I didn't know what to charge. I asked a friend of mine, like, what is this called? She's like, I guess consulting. I'm like, well, what do consultants usually make? She's like, at the time, she was like, $150 an hour. And I said, okay, so let's see if I can charge $150 to help someone. And then if I do it on the phone, I'll charge half, $75.
You're so cute. I love that.
I had no idea. I was just making stuff up, but honestly, that part never really picked up, because it was very difficult to charge people who didn't have the means.
Yeah.
It's like people will tell you like, oh, they don't care. People will buy Jordans. People will buy this and that. But like, when you sit down with a single mother with her kids,
let me tell you,
right?
Correct.
And then you're literally doing her budget, counting pennies. I mean, it's very difficult to say, give me my $150.
Correct.
So it just didn't sit well with me. So I didn't. So instead I said, there has to be a better way. And who can afford to pay me? And then I reached out to a mentor of mine at the time. Her name was Christine Carter. And she said, you should look into contracts, because then you can get companies to pay you so you can still help people. And I was like, okay. I was like, so I'm thinking that she's about to like, give me all the tea. And she said, okay, girl, gotta go. I was like, wait, what?
Bye.
That was literally it. That's all she said. And I was like, what? I don't even know how to get contracts. So I said, okay, well, let me email everyone who's on my email list. It was about maybe 50 people. I by then I had done a lot of volunteer work for different organizations. And I was like, hey, it's me, Tiffany. And I might have volunteered and taught financial education with you before or whatever, but I'm doing that now through my business, the Budgetnista. I would love to talk about what it looked like bringing that to your organization. Only one person emailed back, and her name was Catherine Wilson. She was the new community director. It was her first week there. I didn't know that. Before that, she was an analyst, the new community director at the United Way here in Newark. she was like, hey, you know what? I'd love to chat with you. I think my staff could use some financial education. And I was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow? So
Wow.
yeah, so I went and I met with her, and we're still friends to this day. She's one of my like closest friends. And so I met with her, and I ended up doing what I do best, which is teaching. So we were talking, and she was kind of sharing like, oh, honestly, my student loan debt and this and that. So I set aside my nervousness and I helped her with her finances. Did a budget that day. We mapped out plans that day. And she was like, wow, this was really great. Do you think you could do this for the staff here? And I said, sure. And so I remember, I want to say they paid me $500, which I was like, yeah,
I bet you were.
right. And then I taught my heart out to the staff. I was like, that's one thing I know how to do well. I can teach. And so there were staff members who missed it. So she was like, hey, Tiffany, do you think you could come back next week? Because the staff has been raving about you and the ones who missed it are upset. And I said, of course, another 500, cha-ching.
Yeah.
And then she was like, this was really good. We actually have a financial literacy program here that I teach, but it's not going well because I don't like teaching it. She's like, the bank some bank had given them money and said, in order for people though to receive the money, because banks by law have to give like 5% of like their net earnings, or whatever, something gross or net to the community in which they're banking, in which they are.
Okay.
And so the bank had said, I guess chosen the United Way. We're going to give you this money, but we want to know the people who are using the money know how to use it wisely. So the United Way had created a financial literacy program that you had to pass through in order to get the money. And she was like, but right now I teach it and I hate it. She's like, but you seem like you're fun and you would enjoy it.
She's like, you like it. She's like, you look like you like this.
Yes. And I was like, shoo, yes, I would. And she was like, oh, do you have a series? Or she asked me if I had a program. I said, yeah. She asked me how long my program was. I told her 6 weeks. I made all of this up on the fly.
I bet you, oh man, this is amazing.
She said, how long is your program? I said 6 weeks. I was like, oh my God, Tiffany, you don't have a 6-week program. You going to figure it out? Some other questions she was asking me. And I was literally making it all up. And she's like, okay, well, if you submit a proposal to me for the program, I said, okay.
Absolutely.
And I was like, how do you write a proposal? And what's this 6-week program I just made up? So the program actually was the easy part because I have my master's in education. I know how to write curriculum. So that part was easy. I just said, what are the components of like getting on track with your money, budgeting, mindset, savings, debt? So I just chopped up each week because it was just a class a week. I just chopped up each week and gave it like a theme. This is debt week. This is credit week. This is savings week, So that was easy. The hard part was the actual proposal. I'd never written one. So I actually tweeted, help, I need help with the proposal.
You tweeted it? Wait, stop. You said, wait. So your answer was, let me head to Twitter to find the solution. I love this. I'm loving this right now.
Yes, because back then, Twitter was very hyper local.
Yeah.
Like when Twitter first came out, people weren't really following people from like other countries and things like that. Like you were really following people who were semi in your circle. Like, oh yeah, I know her. Oh yeah, I know this person. Oh, this person's in my town. So as a result, a woman, she was the communications director of the city of Newark, where I live. I didn't know that at the time. I'll never forget Michelle Thomas. And she tweeted me back and said, prior to this, I did a lot of volunteer work. And I would always share about it on social media to see if I can get other people to volunteer with me. Okay. So she had been watching that. She said, I love what you've been doing in my city. I love all the volunteer work you've been doing. I'm going to help you. Send me what you have, and I will put it in proposal form. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So I sent her all of my mumbo jumbo and she put it together. And to this day, it's still the same basic proposal form that I use now to this day when I send out a proposal.
I love this.
And so I submitted the proposal to Catherine. I remember, I think I asked for $500. I was like, if she paid me $500 for one session for her staff, I was like, well, each class should be $500. So that was like $1,500, which was like so much money back then to me. And so I submitted it and she's like, this proposal's excellent. It was because like I said, I had somebody help me with it.
You're so funny. You're like, yeah, the proposal was amazing. I know it.
I know because I was like, Michelle Thomas did it. but I knew that the educational component was really good because that's what I excelled in. Yeah. And so preparing the educational component, like I gave a sample like lesson plan and like what they were going to learn. And I also did like the objective. I did all of the things, like literally I did a curriculum basically wrapped in a proposal and I submitted it and she said, okay. And I started teaching and slowly but surely the relationship deepened. I started teaching and then they ordered books from me. that they had. So it increased me making from 1,500 to 2,000. And then I increased how much I charged per class. And then the classes got bigger. I worked with the United Way for 3 years, teaching a class a week. And I had about 13 or 14 different cohorts. It was amazing. And so that was really the kickoff, because it was like, okay, I can be paid to still help the same people I want to help, but I can be paid via an avenue I don't have to feel guilty about receiving the money from, which was an organization.
Got it. So, what a smart move. It goes back to the statement of it's never a lack of resources, right? It's always a lack of resourcefulness. Mm-hmm. And, instead of you doing what most people in business look to do, oh, you know what? I'm selling to the wrong people. I need to go find people who have money. I need to go find people who meet a different criteria. But I actually really respect and love the fact that you stay true to people who were in your heart. It's a tough life and business decision to stay true to who you are. But for me, that's how we run Do the Damn Thing Nation. So for me, it just speaks volumes to your values, which I'm digging so doggone much. Because at the end of the day, you understand that person and your willingness to meet the person where they were and to still provide an avenue for them to absorb Tiffany, get Tiffany's knowledge and get the how. Because I'll tell you what, way back when I was a single mom, I would have killed to have seen a you, truthfully, to have just seen a you, whether you were in proximity, whether you were further away, just to be able to see a you, a person who's just willing to kind of love, give help, and who actually had, who knew it, who understood it. Man, I'm digging this for sure. You've got these contracts going. You're teaching you're teaching half of New Jersey at this point, right? And right, single-handedly. I just see you in the streets, I love this. So you're teaching half of New Jersey, you become everybody's best friend, and the world begins to slowly and then quickly fall in love with you. Give me an idea for where do you transition from I'm teaching people in my streets to I'm teaching half of the planet?
Well, it started to transition about 2015. So by 2012, I started working with the United Way. And then I was always really good at showcasing what I was up to via social media. So I would share teaching class today, and share the setup with the books and the pens and all that kind of stuff. And in the beginning, it was Jersey people saying oh, how do I register for class? And I would share the link, and then it would be people outside of Jersey, and then it'd be people in Ohio. And I was like, okay, I want to come. I'm like, girl, you live in Florida. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, how do I make it happen for someone who lives that far away? And so I decided to take this in-person class and digitize it. I brought it online, and then I renamed it, and I called it the Live Richer Challenge. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to make it free. I thought initially I was looking to get sponsorships and I still do sometimes, but it took me, that's what the initial thing was. I was like, I'm going to do it just like the United Way. It's going to be free for the public, and then I'll get a company to sponsor it. So I was able to get I think Prudential to give $5,000, but not really enough to cover how much it costs to run the challenge. But what happened is now anybody, no matter where you were, could join. I remember because when I did the Live Richer Challenge, I used to do this, and I still do this registration survey. And in it, I would ask, what state do you live in, that kind of stuff, just so I can get a basic general, demographic of my audience. And then I remember a week or so in, someone emailed me and said, hey, I'm trying to take the registration survey, but it doesn't allow for me to choose my country, Kenya. And I was like, wait, what? And then someone from the Ukraine. I was like, wait, what? It had not occurred to me that it would go international. So I had to go in and add all these other countries. And then I got to see a flood of folks from all these other countries, of course, still primarily the US. But that is what really built the brand. The Live Richer Challenge, it is the thing that built the Budgetnista brand, because so many people, it was so, and honestly, because I had already perfected the courses because I taught them for 3 years, every single week, in front of real people. And so I would tweak it, make it better. And so by the time I got online, I had already perfected it. And so it really helped to transform people's lives. So the first year, my aim was to get 10,000 women signed up. In 2015, I was able to do so. I didn't even know about running ads, whatever, just organically. It took 8 months of begging to get 10,000 women signed up for something for free, meanwhile. Yeah. And by the end of February, 20,000 had signed up. By the next year, 30,000. Now, over 1 million women have done one or more of the challenges. And
Mm-hmm.
so like, it was really, and what I didn't anticipate and what I
Wait,
didn't.
wait, wait. Let's not go over that. Hold on. Wait. Don't just go, please. Let's just take a moment of silence. Like, that's so beautiful. Over 1 million women have taken the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about impact. I got to highlight this, even though we don't really, that's not our focus on this show. But I will tell you, for me, from a company standpoint, like how much impact you're making on a daily, weekly basis to change lives is there are people who say they're changing lives, and then there are people who are actually changing lives. The fact that you were willing to take a class that you had done in person, got paid for, and then you dialed in on the class and a formula that worked where you're like, these people are getting for real results out of this thing. Take it to the internet, the World Wide Web, and more importantly, that you would take that same level and same quality of a product, make it free, so that almost like there's no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you really want to change your game and grow and get to the next level, I'm here to help you. But I love the fact that you set a goal and then you can look back today. How does that feel to even look back and say 1 million women?
It feels surreal because, like, if I didn't see, because one of the things that helped for me to even know that was to see it is that registration survey, right? So many people don't have their numbers, or they're like, it doesn't matter because we're so small now. Had I not created that survey to collect name and email and where you live and all these things, I wouldn't know my numbers. But I can definitively say like, oh, wow, I see it with my own eyes, And so it feels surreal to know. I mean, literally, we have surveys, because you can kind of opt to not do the survey. We have surveys with over 200,000, 400,000 respondents. Who has a survey that deep?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's game changer stuff. Literally, that's just game changer. Let me ask you this, because I want to hop onto the business side of this as well, but I want to stay on impact just for a moment, because you make a decision to make this thing free. At any point in your journey, I mean, as you look at it now, did you say to yourself, man, I need to stop doing free challenges, or not, I need to stop doing free challenges, but I need to change the formula? Like, I need to now charge, now that I know I can put 1 million women through this for free, right? Or 500,000 or 250,000 or 100,000. Did you ever say to yourself, man, you know what? I'm going to charge at some point for this?
It was hard because I didn't know, like, this was so crazy. We had all these people, 2015, and no money, because I didn't know how to transition from free to paid until somebody from my audience basically forced my hand. She said, excited about the challenge. Is there a book version? And I was like, why would you buy a book version, girl? It's free. If it's a book, I can't do it for free because you'd have to get the physical book. Yeah. And she was like, well, I'm not really one, because it was an email/blog challenge. I would send you an email every day and say, hey, Tiffany, here's today's task. And then the task would lead you to the blog post that fully explained it. It gave you any charts or downloads, whatever you needed. It was in the blog post. So I'm like, girl, just read the blog. And she's like, no, I want to carry it in my hand. And I was like, okay. So I got some young designer, pay him $300 to put all the blog posts, literally copy paste into a book, and then make it uploadable so people can buy it. And it took me, my first book, The 1 Week Budget, that I wrote in like 2010, 2011, it took 3 years to chart on Amazon. This one took 3 days. I couldn't believe. I was like, so that was the first time that I realized that people will spend money with you, Tiffany. Because here I was giving away this free challenge. Here I was thinking like no one's going to spend money. Here I was, and I was so vocal about the fact that you don't have to get the book because the challenge is free, that my audience started to tell me to be quiet and stop saying that. They're like, Tiffany, we know. We want the book. Girl, people know books cost money. Yeah. You don't have to apologize for that. So I was like, are you sure? I sold $10,000 worth of books the first month. I couldn't believe it. And so that was like my first, people will buy from you, Tiffany. They will.
They will. They will. Especially if you're delivering something that's just delicious, as we call it. Something that's good. And the truth of the matter is that you delivered something that wasn't just good, it was great and so delicious that they wanted more. And I'm sure at that point, that's where you're like, okay, this is a big business.
Yep. No, it wasn't then. I guess it was then that I realized, okay, you can make money with this business. Because I didn't really know how I was ever going to. I was nervous about asking my audience to pay for things. And I was like, but they literally were.
Wait, hold on. Do you think you were nervous because you felt guilty? Or did you still have that frame of mind of they can't pay for it?
It was more so because I felt guilty. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I had promised to help y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And, so many women paint themselves into like this corner of like, I'm a service business. I have to be of service and I have to be a martyr. And I told myself that like, not necessarily, because some of the things like, like it wasn't super expensive. So it wasn't necessarily that. It was more so, it was definitely, there was a transition into charging more for more expensive things that I had that thought that, they wouldn't pay. But really in the beginning, it just was the guilt of, I promised to help you. Who charges for help that's necessary? Not,
Yeah.
not me. But what I love about the Live With Your challenges, and it's one of the reasons why they're still free, and I'm considering maybe charging for the lesser ones and keeping like the main one free. That's like I've been toying with that lately. Although I love what I love about the challenges is that if you don't have any money whatsoever, you still can get help. Especially the first challenge is really a combination of most of the challenges together. So I just feel like it's like it makes me feel good that as we charge for other things, there are people who are really like, I don't have it. And I'm able to say, but I still got you, sis. So that's important to me to provide a space where people can get help, even if you legitimately just don't have it. And then for folks who do have, we have next level things that we are now able to offer them.
Yep. Got it. When you look back, before I get to the next part of this, when you look back, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of like the women that I've been able to help and subsequently the families that I've been able to help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had women say things as impactful as I've never in my adult life been on time with my bills. I'm on time with my bills. I can't believe it. People taking their daughter on vacation for the first time. I've never been able to afford to go on vacation, but my daughter had a really great report card, and to be able to take her on vacation, it's life changing. She's looking at me like a superwoman,
Yeah.
and even like women who are like, I was homeless. I started the Live With Your challenge, and 2 years later, I'm now a homeowner. That's happened more than a couple of times.
That's crazy, Tiffany.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. That's bananas, actually, as we say. That's bananas. I can't even, like, I'd be honest, like, I'm like, whoa. But you know what? It doesn't surprise me. It actually doesn't surprise me because you're awesome. You're awesome. And your impact is real and your energy is real, but also your love for your community is real, which is why I was so excited about having you here, because you truly love the person you're serving, period. Like you just love them. I love nothing more than to watch you and you'll put up a post and be like, hey y'all, I'm on the set of Good Morning America or Today's Show, or hey y'all. And then like, it's just the cutest, like self, like it's almost like you're talking to family. Like every time you're like, hey sis, but it's so good because I think people sometimes are expecting something different. And I'm like, no, bring it home, Tiffany. Like it's so good. And I can feel your words and your energy of, isn't this exciting? I'm excited. I know you're excited for me. And it's like the world is for sure watching. I think that you're America's favorite. You're definitely my favorite. I'll tell you that for sure. You're hands down my favorite. When you think back and you're like, okay, you've seen a lot of data. You've now seen a lot of women. And I want to, even though, yes, anybody can learn from you. I know that you have a specialty in women and their fears, their truth, their insecurities, their reality of where they are in their life, whether they're 35, 42, 57, or 63, looking at money. And I want to just take a few minutes and just talk about money, because money for women is its own kind of tough conversation and tough game. And you have data because you've spoken to so many women. You've watched so many women. You have thousands and thousands of women that follow you and you interact with them all. What do you feel like is the number one thing that holds women back today when it comes to money? Number one thing
is fear, because women think that money is hard and they don't know. It's like the same thing that, why girls don't go into STEM, because STEM is for boys, money's for men. Mm-hmm. I think that's what really holds women back, is that boys are raised to be bold. Women are not, unfortunately. It's at least in most Western societies. You'll go other places and you'll see that's just like, it's not a girl thing. Because there are certain cultures where that stereotype is actually flipped.
Yeah,
women are the bold ones, and you realize, oh, this is not intrinsic. This is taught.
Yep.
And so I feel like here, at least in the United States, one of the reasons is why is because somewhere along the way, someone told you math was hard. Someone told you money was hard. Someone told you that's for boys or for your husband or your brother or your father to take care of. And you believed it. That's what holds women back. And I'm trying to lift the veil and say that's just not true, that the boys are not smarter than you, not even a little bit.
So for sure, you say that women just believe they have this idea, partially because we're taught, if not completely because we're taught, that money is just hard. So they're like, you know what? I'm just not fooling with it. I'm not fooling with it. I'm not going there. I'm not doing it. What would you say is the number two reason why that woman gets older? So that woman grows, she gets older, she knows that money is the thing she's ignoring. And why do you think she just stays away from it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the problem is surmounting, right? Because money is one of those things that you keep ignoring it and it doesn't get better. It doesn't just stay right where it is. Like you keep ignoring your credit report and it keeps getting worse. Like it doesn't get better. You keep ignoring your bank account and what's happening. You can't really improve it. Why do you think a woman's willing to just stack?
Well, because of a lack of access to the resources needed to make a change. Because, you might say to yourself, like, okay, and I know I've said this, okay, I do want to do better, but where, how, who can help me? You know what I mean? Access is critical because it's like, well, I need some handholding now that I know that I want to change, but where? It's one of the three pillars that I built my business on is knowledge, access, and community.
Okay.
Because, if you don't know better, you cannot do better. So how do you introduce a new way of thinking, feeling, knowing, doing? So that's the knowledge component, right? But it's not just that. Sometimes it's like, okay, I know how to budget, I know how to save, but I want to learn how to invest. But who can show me in a way that's going to connect? Access is through people. And so that's one of the reasons too, why I bring a lot of different, especially women, especially Black women, onto my platform to share, what their expertise is, whether it's credit or investing or options or real estate or whatever. I do that a lot. I want to provide access to my audience dream catchers. I want to provide access to them. Like here, the Tiva is amazing at this. Tila does this. Sandy does this. EC does this, and then community. Because we need a safe place to land, We need encouragement. We need accountability, And so that's why I created Dream Catchers, the group. We are a social group that holds each other accountable and encourages each other and checks in on each other. I think that that's what's missing. It's why, women don't go from one place to the next is because they're missing knowledge, access, and community. And that's why I fight to create for them.
Yep. I hear that. And the truth of the matter is that you actually need all three. It's not like you just don't need knowledge and you just don't need access. The community part's really so important, which is why I'm such a fan of your community. You have to have all three. So I'm going to ask you just rapid fire questions for that person right now who's like, you know what? I'm listening. I hear you. Because trust and believe, whether we want to admit it or whether women want to admit it, this is like an all women problem. This is not a woman below the poverty level. This is not a woman who's making 50, 60,000. This is not even a woman making 100,000. I mean, I was making, forget when I got to $1 million. I can remember making six figures. I often tell my community, I don't know if I want to tell you this, Tiffany, because you're going to judge me, but
no, I'm not.
So listen, let me state the claim. I'm from Miami, Florida. Okay. So let me just give a disclaimer real quick. And my very first six-figure business, you know how I manage money? I had a retail store on Pembroke Road, and no joke, I literally would have all of the cash in the top drawer of the filing cabinet. Six-figure business. And I'm not kidding. I did that for so long. I paid all the bills like that. We collected all the money like that. When I tell you though, I'm think of cash in the top of a 4-stand filing cabinet.
Wow.
No joke. Doing $100,000+, doing great. But the truth of the matter is that I had to learn about money by having my ass handed to me. That is the honest to God truth. And it wasn't until I started to get the first, my friend, the IRS, and they were like, hey, hey, listen. And I was like, you have to manage this money? Oh my gosh. Why didn't anybody tell me you have to manage this money too? You don't just make it. That began the journey of a long, long journey of me teaching myself just about money. And as you were talking, I was thinking, well, what comes first, second, and third? And I'm like, you know what? Let's just ask the expert. Because the process was really hard for me because I had to like hunt for the information. Because back then there wasn't a lot for just women. It was a lot of men and it was a lot of white men. And I was intimidated. I'll be honest. I was intimidated reading. I was intimidated. I was ashamed. I felt insecure. I'm like, I'm making $100,000+ and I could tell you zero about how to manage money, how money just works. So I'm going to ask you to maybe boil it down to 3 to 5 steps, super quick, on just the, man, I today, I need to do the damn thing and I need to get my money game just in perspective and together. What's step number 1? Real quick. Step number 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5 if you have it.
So step number 1 is always mindset. You have to identify what the ultimate goal is. So there's the goal and there's a goal. So some people are like, oh, I want to get debt free. I'm like, that's cute. That's a goal. It ain't the goal. The goal for your money should
that's cute.
It's not, right? Because it's not. Because you get debt free and guess what you are? My 5-year-old nephew, Roman, he doesn't owe anybody, but he's broke. So no, a goal, is okay. But the goal is something collectively that I like to call financial wholeness. It's all the aspects of your financial life. So that is the goal, right? So 1 is your mindset shift about like, okay, what are my goals? Where am I now? What's holding me back? So that's 1. 2, you have to start building the foundation. Foundation starts with the budget always. People don't want to hear it, but it does. A budget's just a physical picture of what is your money doing and what do I want it to do so I can start shifting it. So that's...
And wait, hold on. Let me ask you a question. In this budget, do we like just grab a sheet of paper or and just literally, so you're saying like, hey, just grab a sheet of paper and basically write down how much my bills cost me?
So a budget in 4 quick steps is just you make a list of everything you spend money on, everything. That's one, like just the words. Then step 2, how much does everything cost? Those things on your list, how much it costs you a month? Those are 2 separate steps because I don't want you to forget stuff. If you start thinking about, oh, I pay this a month, that, but no. I want you to think about everything you spend money on because you might not get your hair done every month. The water bill might not come every month. You might not eat out every month, but I want you to put those things down and then quantify it monthly. That's why it's 2 separate steps, right? Then, like, okay, maybe the water bill comes every 3 months and it's $90. So it's $30 a month. Maybe you get your hair done every 4 weeks and it's $100 to get your lock suite twisted. So that's $25 a month. If you eat out twice a week and it's $10 every time you eat out, that's 20 for each week, 4 weeks in a month, that's $80 a month. So step 2, quantify how much each item on your list, I call it the money list, costs you monthly. Step 3, add up that list, right? And then step 4, subtract it from your monthly take-home pay. Your budget is money in, money out within a month. So you do that, and then you get a clear picture of this is what my money is doing. This is the money that I have coming in. Okay, I babysit, I tutor, I also teach. Great. This is my money going out. Not just bills, but other things too. Eating out, grooming, entertainment, all the things. And this is how much I'm making a month. This is how much I'm spending a month. So that's step 2. It's always creating a budget. Step 1, mindset. Step 2, budget. Step 3 is a combination, right? So you want to think about your savings and debt, right? So how much, if you have debt and you're working towards saving, they work in concert together. You should never just be focusing on getting debt free, and you should never just be focusing on savings if you have debt. So you just after you do your budget, you find some money there, you reduce some of your expenses, you're going to look to see like, okay, well, how much can I save and how much can I put toward debt? So that's 3, and creating whatever that plan's going to look like. 4 is you're starting to get a little bit deeper. You're thinking about things like credit and insurance and things like this. So like, okay, let me get because your credit is going to be important when it's time to borrow. But credit kind of does this. Credit says, I need you to know me before you need me. Like, don't come holler at me now, girl. You supposed to have gotten this together 3 months ago. Now you want to buy a house tomorrow. Right. And so also too, insurance, because as you start to grow, your career starts to take off, you want to make sure you're properly insured. Do you have disability insurance if you need it? Do you have life insurance and health insurance? So keeping those things together. And then finally, kind of like the final tier is investing. But there's 2 tiers of investing. If you ask me, there's investing for retirement and there's investing for wealth. Investing for retirement should always happen. Investing for wealth, you might not get to, at least not right now. So investing for retirement is so It's for your later years. It's for your one day self. I like to call my one day self Wanda. That like Wanda is like me when I'm 65, 70 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, because Prudential had done this study where they showed that we're disassociated from our older self. I said, well, then let's lean into the disassociation. I'm gonna name her Wanda. When I'm making decisions now, Wanda's like, oh, so we eat top ramen when I get older because you over here tricking up all my money, girl. And I'm like, oh gosh, Wanda. Okay, girl, let me slow down so I leave something for Wanda, right? And so looking after your old person self for retirement first and foremost, and then setting aside money for wealth. When you're investing for wealth, you're investing for now and legacy. So it's like you investing for wealth improves your life now, but also allows you to create a legacy because retirement is for you. Wealth is for improving your life now, but also leaving a legacy for those who you're going to leave behind. And so those are kind of like the tiers that I really look at my personal finance, and I call it financial wholeness. There's 10 real steps to financial wholeness.
So I think what I'm going to do is make sure that we include that in our show notes. So, because I want to make sure that we have these 10 steps. I don't want to take up this precious time with you going through them because I want to ask you one more question. So I want to just ask you for the person who is running a company today. And I know a lot of people look at your business and look at and not really your business. It's like your world. It's like a whole world that you've built. It's not just a business. And they're like, how did she do that? If there was like, hey, my number one piece of advice to the person who's listening and thinking, what's my next move? What's my next step? Because for me, you've done the damn thing consistently. And I know that success leaves clues.
Well, I would say your next thing, I'm always asking myself, how can I be better? Always. So I'm consistently in the search of a better version of myself. And sometimes how can I be better is like, okay, I can be of more service to my community. Okay, I can practice being on video more. Okay, I can get my writing skills up. I can listen to this podcast. I'm always. If you are constantly working on the best version of yourself, you can't lose because you're really only in competition with yourself. If there's one thing that I say I would stay consistent with is that I'm always on the quest of being a better version of myself, whatever that might be. So that's what I would lean into. And because it will manifest in different ways. Like one of the things I always strive to be is transparent and kind to my community. And then it might be like, you know what, I really should be donating more. And then it might be like, the copy that I've written thus far is a little bit choppy, or it might be, but I'm always on the quest for a better, more refined, clear version of self. And if you do that, you will always succeed. Success will just look different for you than it looks for me, but you will always succeed. So that's what I would focus on. Oprah has this book called The Next Best Step. And I think that that's what I'm always thinking. Like, what is my next best step? How do I show it better? You know?
Mm-hmm. Man, the Tiffany. Dun, 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 dun. Man, this has been amazing. This has been amazing. So I can't even begin to tell you how exciting it's been to spend this time with you for sure. And I know the person who's listening is probably going googly, just like I am, because of the fact that not only did you come and do the damn thing, but man, you made it so stupidly clear that we're either doing the damn thing or we're not. We're either in control of our money, we're either in control of ourselves. And you're right. It's like the best version of ourselves is a daily game. It's literally a daily game. And I love the fact that you're like, it doesn't have to be my weight. It doesn't have to be this. When you said my copywriting skills, I was like, man, because the truth is that you're right. There's always room and a moment for us to get better. And it's like, man, if we just take a thought and ask ourselves that question every single day, then we'll get to take every single step. And before we know it, we're looking back. And the truth is that we've not only moved so much further, but we look down and we're like, man, I'm right where I wanted to be. I'm here. I did it. I'm here. Wow. Dear Tiffany, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Tiffany. Thank you for having me.
So to the person who's listening, I say, yes, you want to consume all of these show notes. We're going to make sure that they're stupidly juicy so that you can dial in. You can stalk Tiffany just like I stalk Tiffany. You'll be able to find her. And more importantly, tap into the Live Richer Challenge.
Man, have I told you how glad I am that you're here? Like, real talk, have I flippin' told you how glad I am that you are here, you have listened? This is the part of the show where I say, let's go find us, go follow us, go stalk us, but just make sure that we're connected. Head to dothedamnthing.tv, dothedamnthing.life, or just go hang out on tiffanylargy.com. If we are not friends on Facebook, if you have not liked our Instagram page, go do that, because you're going to want to see what we're doing, how we're doing, and how we're doing the damn thing daily.